Hello guys, welcome back. And today I'm going to be talking about the Dallas Stars and what it'll take for them to make the playoffs next season. 3 seasons ago, I don't think anybody expected them to be second in the NHL. Then they come in the next season with big expectations, and they missed the playoffs big and really hard. And then this past season, when they were the offseason champions, and when they won the offseason, getting Grav, Bishop, they had all those acquisitions, and we thought they were going to make out playoffs for sure, right? But when we look towards the next season with the Dallas Stars, the 2018-2019 season, there's still a lot of hope there and a lot of expectations still to make the playoffs with the core that they have. Again, they were playoff contenders last season. They were pretty much a wrap to make the playoffs, and it seemed like everybody had them in the playoffs at least somewhere, whether it be the wild card or in the division slots. They were a playoff contender last season, and they were until last month in a playoff spot. So I still think that there's massive hope for the Dallas Stars next season to at least make the playoffs. But again, what are the things that it'll take for the Dallas Stars to make the playoffs? What will next season have to look like for the Dallas Stars to make the playoffs and have some playoff success? Number one, and the most important thing by far throughout this whole thing, is a healthy Ben Bishop. While he was still pretty decent last season, when he played, he was inconsistent. We can see a much more consistent and healthy Ben Bishop. We'll see a much better Dallas Stars squad. Ben Bishop either was fantastic or just absolutely horrible last season, it seemed like, and he would just never have never had like a great stretch. It seemed like he was always just in an inconsistent bubble to where he never got it going, and that's something that I think that Ben Bishop can fix next season, and I think the Dallas Stars can fix, as well as the defense gets a little bit better with guys like Miro Heiskanen and other guys. But with Ben Bishop, I think he'll be a little bit more consistent next season. Of course, if he stays healthy, that's the big question there. If he stays healthy, the Dallas Stars will be a lot better. They were in that playoff bubble until Ben Bishop got injured, and that was the big thing that happened to stray them from the playoffs, is that they had to play Kari Lehtonen every single night, and that obviously did not work for them, as he did not get the job done. The Dallas Stars did not get the job done either. So first and foremost, having a healthy Ben Bishop and having a consistent Ben Bishop and hopefully having a better year overall will definitely put the Dallas Stars in a much better position to at least be contenders for the playoffs, if not make the playoffs. We just need that healthy goaltender, and we need that consistent goaltender. The next thing is Jim Montgomery's style fitting with the Dallas Stars. Now, I already think that it's a pretty good fit with Dallas. Ken Hitchcock, he put this kind of system where it was like hard-nosed, and it was like a lot more of a defensive type system, and obviously the Dallas Stars were not that type of team. Guys like Patterson did excel, guys like Cam Hughes did excel, but most of the team did not really fit into that type of system, and we saw the team rapidly decline because of that. And while I still think that it was okay to put Ken Hitchcock in that position, and there's still some things that the team can learn from him as well, I feel like Jim Montgomery and his style is a much better fit than the Dallas Stars, and we'll already see the impact in this next coming season, especially in the preseason, as we see that with other guys developing and other guys coming up for the system. They signed some other guys like Todd Nelson, who was the coach of the Grand Rapids Griffins, who won the Calder Cup, I think, back in 2017, and they've been a good team with Todd Nelson, so I'm really excited about that hire as well. But Jim Montgomery is a much more cleaner game, is much more fast, creative type game that Montgomery allows the Stars to have. And that's pretty much the opposite of what Ken Hitchcock bring. It was hard-nosed, you didn't really do too much, you didn't risk too much, and with Jim Montgomery, we're going to see a lot more flying type style, kind of like what you saw with Lindy Ruff, but a little bit more of a balanced one, I'd say. But there is always that chance that Montgomery's system does not fit with the Dallas Stars, and we could see that, but I feel like there's a great chance that Montgomery does fit with the Dallas Stars, and I already like what he's saying, I already like what he's doing, and so far he's looking to be a good fit, but it could still be some worries there. Of course, first year in the NHL coach, we could see what happens there, but for right now, I really like the signing, I really like the hiring. It's all about how he fits with the Dallas Stars, and of course, how the players fit with him as well. A big thing as well is that Miro Heiskanen should fit with the Dallas Stars next season and supposedly get a top 4 role, which I think he can definitely fit into, and the Dallas Stars have that position open for him. The Dallas Stars were in the trade talks with Erik Karlsson, of course, and the big thing was Miro Heiskanen. Would he get traded or not? Would he not? And if it's a fair trade, we'll see later than that, but Miro Heiskanen was the big ship that was going to get traded if Erik Karlsson were to come to Dallas, and he already has some big expectations to him, but even after that, it's bigger because he could have been traded for Erik Karlsson. So we got some big shoes to fill for Dallas, and especially for the fans that thought they were going to get Erik Karlsson, but Miro Heiskanen was the guy that stayed with them, which I think is a good decision for them, but we'll get into that in a later video. But I feel like he definitely has potential to slot into a top 4 role next season. I think he has definite chances. I think it's most likely that he makes the NHL team, but I feel like there's an also better chance that he slots into a top 4 role, plays very, very good. I don't think he's going to play like a superstar off the bat, but a top 4 role, I think he'll be very solid both defensively and offensively to start off the NHL. He's shown that in the Olympics, he's shown that in the league, he's shown that everywhere he's played. I think he's not going to continue that in the NHL and have a solid first year. But the Dallas Stars do have that top 4 spot open for Miro Heiskanen, and if he can accomplish that, if he can get into there and slot well, play well throughout the whole season, that's going to be big for Dallas because they're kind of missing that 4th defenseman, that solid 4th defenseman last season. There could have been some guys that switch between that, but Miro Heiskanen is going to be that bona fide top 4 guy, in my opinion, and I feel like he'll play very well, very solidly next season, and we can see a very good transitioning year the next season where he probably becomes that star for Dallas, where he probably fulfills his great potential as a prospect. Now, another big thing that we didn't really have last season is that the bottom 6 actually start scoring, and that was a big thing throughout the whole season. The bottom 6 was really inconsistent. They would either have great games or bad games, and sometimes that's just what happens with your bottom 6. But for the bottom 6, they need to be able to score a lot more. Yes, most of them were pretty good defensively, but we need that offense. And that was something that we were lacking last season, was that depth scoring. Of course, the big thing with Dallas was lack of goal scoring on that bottom 6. So we need a little bit more of that. Guys like Jamal Smith should hopefully get more ice time and be able to score a lot more. Hopefully some of those guys develop a little bit better, and we could see a prospect or two maybe coming in for the system and playing a lot better. Maybe Jason Dickinson plays a lot better. Who knows? But that bottom 6, if we are going to make the playoffs, is hopefully going to be a lot better, both in the goal scoring and defensively. I feel like they have that potential. Some of those guys are still growing, but for me, that bottom 6 needs to score a lot more next season if they're going to have chances at the playoffs. Another thing is that Sagan, Ben, and Klingberg all stay at their performing rates. Now, this is a little bit of this is a bit of a tricky situation because Klingberg had pretty much a breakout season last season and could arguably be a top 5 guy in the Norris conversation last season, and he definitely deserved that. Offensively, he was one of the best guys last season in the assist and goal scoring. If he can continue that pace, that'll be fantastic for the Dallas Stars. If he can continue that number 1 defenseman type pace, that's going to be fantastic for their chances at the playoffs once again. If they can continue to maybe not get 40 goals, but continue at that somewhat 30 to 35 pace, that would be fantastic, and again continue to develop defensively. And if Ben can be a little bit more consistent throughout the whole season offensively, that'll definitely improve the Dallas Stars' chances, as he was a little bit inconsistent last season. I know I'm asking just a little bit too much of a 40-goal scorer to do it once again, but what Tyler Seguin is one of the more talented centers in the league. I feel like he can do that, but I'm hoping for 35 goals at least. Hopefully he can do that, and if he doesn't, it might be a little bit of a tricky situation. Of course, injuries always affect things. If the Stars get a couple of big guys injured, the season's pretty much over, and it could be worse next season. If Seguin gets injured, the season is practically over because we don't have too much other centers over there, but it all depends on the health. It all depends on the playing, and hopefully those guys improve just a little bit and continue their pace, and again, the big thing, not getting injured. Now, one of the more important things on this entire list is the Central Division. How will that Central Division stack up? How will it actually perform? And it's going to be very interesting. You've got Winnipeg and Nashville. Pretty much locks to be 1 and 2 in the Central Division. But the rest is really out of nowhere. It could be St. Louis that gets that 3rd spot. It could be Dallas that gets that 3rd spot. It could be Colorado. Maybe Minnesota jumps up there. It's really a random division, and it seems like it just seems like it's just random every single year. But it always turns out to be a very good division. And the Dallas Stars, again, last season were kind of burned by that. If the Central Division can just be a little bit more weaker next season, I feel like we can see the Dallas Stars in the playoffs. Maybe if Colorado misses, maybe if Minnesota misses, we could see the Dallas Stars slot in there and possibly getting even a 3rd place in that division if St. Louis doesn't meet expectations. But that Central Division is really wacky. It's somewhat unpredictable, and really it could go either way for the Dallas Stars. They can get burned by the division again, or they could rise up in the division along other teams as well. It really is one of the more unpredictable divisions in the NHL, but it always seems to be the best out of all the teams that are just fighting. It's just a dogfight in there. And the Dallas Stars hopefully are going to leap out of that and hopefully become a playoff team because of that. But the Central Division is the best division in the NHL. As a Dallas Stars fan, I can wholeheartedly say that because there's just so many teams that can be competitive. Even the last place team in Chicago last season could be competitive next season if Crawford is healthy, if the team rebounds. Any team in that division could make it, and the Dallas Stars hopefully will. Now, Dallas Stars' playoff hopes are about 50-50. You could see them making it, you could see them not, but it's going to take a little bit of work and a lucky season to make the playoffs. Guys like Ben Bishop, Radulov, Sagan, Klingberg need to stay healthy, and they need to continue their pace while the bottom 6 continues to develop. Some of their young guys continue to develop, like Heiskanen, Dickinson, Jamal Smith. Some of those guys need to develop as well. play a lot better, and the team overall should be able to make the playoffs. They should be. They were a contender last season. I can't see them not make the playoffs this next season, especially if the Central is a little bit weaker. It's going to take a little bit of luck, and of course, to skip the injury bug. But this team is definitely a playoff-worthy team. It's all about how some guys develop, and hopefully how the team stays healthy. The Dallas Stars are one of those teams where it's really sink or swim when it comes to injuries. One guy being injured, like Jamie Benn or Tyler Seguin, could really rock his season and could really have the playoff hopes in trouble, especially if the bottom six doesn't quite develop like we expect them to, and the team doesn't make too much progress. We could see a team that is again in the playoff bubble, but just misses due to injuries, due to inconsistencies, and we need to see that ironed out. Hopefully with Jim Montgomery's system next season, but there is hope of the playoffs. There is definite hope there, but it's all about how the circumstances come out, it's how the injuries play out, how the players play out, and of course there's a lot of randoms, there's a lot of wild cards when it comes to Dallas. And while I'm certainly hopeful as a Dallas Stars fan for them to make the playoffs and for them to be the solid team that they were supposed to be last season, I think that there's definite hope there. It's just all about what happens, how the season plays out, and of course how the Central Division plays out, because it's always just a coin flip how that division comes out, and hopefully the Dallas Stars are on the good side of things rather than the missing the playoff side of things. But that is going to be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure you like and subscribe. But tell me below what you think of the Dallas Stars. Can they make the playoffs? And what will it take for Dallas to make the playoffs next season in the wacky Central Division? I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.